What is up, everyone? After Midnight Confessions here, and I hope you are having a great day. Today, we have two stories basically about lying, about their life, about their relationship, basically about everything. I think you're gonna really like them. They're crazy, they're super interesting, and sometimes it's, that feeling when you think, like, oh, does this stuff really happen? Well, guess what? It really does. Well, without any further ado, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And let's get to the stories. My best friend pretended to be my friend for years just to sleep with me. We met in college while living in the same shared house. The rent was cheap and everyone was broke. So about 15 men and women lived there. It was honestly a hellscape. The house was dirty and poorly maintained, but the people were nice and I made some really good friends there. One of them was Mike. I didn't feel a romantic connection, so I wasn't interested in him that way. Still, since we lived together and attended the same college, we spent a lot of time together, grew close, and eventually became best friends. Over the next 5 years, we both dated other people and were always comfortable talking openly about our relationships. Mike never behaved inappropriately towards me and never crossed boundaries with his girlfriends. He was loyal, respectful, and genuinely a good person. That said, there were two moments when he showed romantic interest. When we first met, he flirted with me once, but I didn't reciprocate. Later, after I ended a 2 year relationship, about 4 years into our relationship, he flirted with me once again. This time I turned him down more firmly. I wasn't unkind, but I wanted to be very clear so there would be no false hope or confusion. That 2 year relationship breakup was very difficult, and I needed a lot of therapy afterwards. Honestly, that was one of the main reasons I turned Mike down. I had just come out of a bad relationship and I didn't want to jump into another one. That wouldn't be smart or healthy. That was me over 1 year ago. I've been single for quite some time now and haven't been casually dating either. I used this time to heal and grow. Well, good job, proud of you. Which brings me to this past week. Mike and I have been talking every day without fail for over a year. We talk only through messages and calls since we now live very far apart. He decided to come visit me. I was really happy about it. I offered him to stay at my place to save money. I live alone and have space, so I prepared a spare bed for him before he arrived. When he got there, it wasn't awkward at all. We've known each other for 5 years and have been best friends for most of that time. But as New Year's Eve approached, he asked if he could kiss me. This time, I felt like I was in a place in my life where I could trust again. I'd known Mike for years, and I believed he wouldn't hurt me, so I said yes, and we kissed. We're older and more mature now, so the kiss naturally evolved into something more intimate. During the rest of his visit, we shared a very personal and intimate experience. We slept in the same bed, took showers together, watched movies cuddling, and even went to the movies holding each other's hands the entire time. It all felt natural, personal, and cozy. Then his visit ended and he went back home. I wasn't expecting a full-blown relationship or even a friends with benefits situation. I simply expected us to talk about what had happened and figure out what it meant or where we should go from there. But now he doesn't reply to my messages anymore. We used to talk every day for hours and now there's only silence. Yeah, that's really sucks. You come out of a bad relationship and you start trusting someone again, in this case even your best friend, and then they ghost you afterwards like that. And honestly, I've heard about this many times, even in my personal life, and it just sucks because Just when you started rebuilding your trust, it just gets shattered again, and obviously that really hurts. So I'm really sorry that happened to you. You can also just cherish the moment that you guys did have a good intimate experience together. But yeah, of course, it really sucks. Someone commented, I'm not convinced the silence is because he pretended to be your friend for 5 years. Even talking every day for a year solely to sleep with you once, that does not make sense. That's way too much time and effort. Also, people cannot consistently fake who they are and their intentions for that long. With that much communication, without occasionally slipping up and showing cracks in the mask, you said he was loyal, respectful, and genuinely a good person that entire time. In my opinion, it's likely to be a more complicated and deeper attachment, psychological as well as physical. It's hard to know the exact reason for the silence. It could be that he thought he wanted to hook up, but then afterward panicked and felt overwhelmed by the situation and how it escalated into the closeness you described. It could be that he wanted to be in more of a friends with benefits situation and not a relationship, and is avoiding you because he is scared you're going to want more. It could be that he wants more, but is scared to ask in case you reject him. It could be that he is currently in a relationship or dating situation with someone else and has cheated on them with you, and the silence is regret and guilt. Sadly, none of that helps with dealing with the situation on your end if you won't communicate. I'm sorry you're going through this. And there are some other people who are also saying, like, I'm sure he's not a cheater. Everything was very mutual. But yeah, I hope the OP has given it some thought. Hopefully, feels better about it. And yeah, feels better. I found out my best friend has been lying about his entire life. I don't even know where to start with this, because the more I think about it, the more surreal it feels. I've known my best friend Jake for almost 6 years. We met through mutual friends and instantly clicked. Same humor, same music, same way of seeing the world. He was the kind of person who always seemed confident and always knew where he was going in life. Being around him made me feel like I was doing something right. Jake always talked about his job. He worked in finance, or at least that's what he told everyone. He had stories about meetings, annoying coworkers, promotions that were basically guaranteed, and how stressful it was dealing with clients. Nothing ever sounded unbelievable. If anything, it sounded boring, which made it feel real. He said he lived alone in a nice apartment in the city. He talked about his rent like it was no big deal. He dressed well, always had decent money, never seemed stressed about bills. When we went out, he'd pay without hesitation and say things like, "Don't worry, I've got it." I trusted him completely. For years, I defended him when people made jokes about his life being too perfect. I'd say things like, "No, he's just disciplined," or "He works hard, that's why." I genuinely admired him. I measured myself against him. When I felt behind in life, I told myself, Jake's got it figured out. I'll get there too. The first crack appeared over something stupid. A mutual friend asked Jake where exactly his office was, because his company was supposedly hiring. Jake laughed it off and changed the subject. I didn't think much of it. People just avoid work talk all the time. But then it happened again and again. Whenever someone asked specifics, the company name, the location, what he actually did day to day, the answers became vague. He'd joke, deflect, or say, "It's complicated, you wouldn't want that job anyway." I started noticing small things. He was always working from home, but somehow never busy. He was always available during office hours. His stories about coworker never included names anymore, just this guy or that manager. Still, I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. This was my best friend, the person I'd shared secrets with, the person who'd listened to me at 3 a.m. when my life felt like it was falling apart. The moment everything collapsed wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a big confrontation or confession. It actually was a coincidence. I ran into Jake's cousin at a party. We'd met once or twice before. We were talking casually, and I mentioned Jake's apartment. Something about how nice it must be living alone in the city. She looked confused. She said, "Apartment?" I laughed and said, "Yeah, his place. He's been there for years." She went quiet for a second and then said, "He lives with his parents. He's never moved out." I remember feeling embarrassed, like I had misunderstood something. I tried to correct her, told her she must be mistaken. She shook her head and said, "No, he's been home since college. He doesn't work either. He's been struggling for a long time." My stomach dropped. I didn't say anything after that. I just nodded, made an excuse, and left early. I sat in my car for a long time before driving home, replaying every conversation I'd ever had with Jake. The job, the apartment, the money, none of it made sense anymore. I did something I'm not proud of. I looked things up. His company didn't exist. The LinkedIn profile he once mentioned, gone. The stories didn't line up, and suddenly I could see it clearly. The way you see something obvious only after it's too late. He hadn't exaggerated his life, he had completely invented it. When I confronted him, I didn't accuse him, I didn't yell, I just asked him gently if any of it was true. He didn't deny it. He just stared at the floor and said, "I don't know, I didn't know how to stop." He told me it started small, a lie to sound impressive, a story to avoid embarrassment, then another, and another, until the version of him people knew wasn't real anymore. He said admitting the truth felt worse than keeping the lie alive. What hurt me the most wasn't the lying. It was realizing that the person I trusted most had never let me know him at all. Every deep conversation, every piece of advice, every moment I felt inspired by him. It was all built on something fake. I wasn't friends with him. I was friends with the character he created because he was too afraid to be himself. I didn't know how to feel. Angry, sad, betrayed, guilty, all of it at once, I suppose. I kept wondering if I'd missed signs, if I was stupid for not seeing it sooner. We don't talk much anymore. Not because I hate him, but because I don't know who I'm talking to now. I don't know which parts were real and which parts were performance. And once trusts break like that, it doesn't shatter loudly, it just quietly disappears. Something I think about how easy it is to pretend everything's fine, how many people around us are doing the same thing. It scares me how convincing someone can be when they're terrified of being seen as they really are. I lost my best friend that day, not because he lied, but because I actually never knew him. Damn, that's... wow. I mean, the only thing I can say about that is that takes a lot of dedication to keep up with all the lies. You know, the saying is it's easier to remember the truth than the lie. And that's so true. Like, it must be so hard to remember all the lies that he has made and keep feeding into it. And also, what a sad life. Living in a lie, in a deception. I mean, what kind of life is that? Who wants that? Well, let's see what the comments say about it. Someone commented, "This felt painfully real. Just someone who feels stuck and doesn't know how to move forward. A lot of people don't realize how easy it is to lose years without anything bad happening. I really hope this kid realizes that feeling lost doesn't mean your life is over, even if it feels that way right now. A short comment, but very clear, and I agree with it. His life is not over. Your life is not over either. You can trust people again. Maybe talk to a psychologist, talk to a mental health professional, a mentor, whoever. But you can get over this. It's shitty, it's difficult, but you can do it. Alright guys, that was the video for today. 2 really crazy stories, to be honest. I hope you've really enjoyed them. I certainly did. And please like and subscribe the video. Send it to your grandma, send it to your grandpa, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your dad, whatever. If someone needs to hear this, needs to hear these stories, please share them. And I think it's very important that people know and hear stories that they can relate to. We're all human and we all make mistakes. Anyway, have a nice day and see you later.